In the heart of an ancient village, a haunting melody emanates from the river each night, a sound both beautiful and sorrowful. The protagonist has always been captivated by the song, but when they set out to uncover its true meaning, they are warned by an elder, wise and cautious, about the dangers of disturbing the river's ancient power. Some things are better left unknown, the elder cautions, but the protagonist is undeterred. Drawn deeper by the river's call, the protagonist crosses paths with a mysterious figure whose ties to the river's magic run deeper than anyone realizes. Through a series of trials, the protagonist begins to understand that the song is not simply a beautiful tune, it's a desperate cry for help, a warning from the river itself. The river, once a life-giving force, has been disturbed. As the protagonist moves closer to the truth, they realize that uncovering its secrets may bring irreparable harm to their village. The river's song is not just a melody, but a promise and a threat, one that could either restore the village's prosperity or lead to its complete destruction. As the truth is revealed, the protagonist must face a heartbreaking choice: protect the river's sanctity or risk everything to stop the looming disaster. The river's silence afterward speaks louder than any song, but the lesson it imparts is one that will echo through the ages. In this ancient village, surrounded by dense forests and sacred grounds, the story begins with a young dreamer, driven by an insatiable curiosity and an overwhelming desire to understand the river's song. The protagonist has always been drawn to the haunting melody that drifts across the village each night. But despite their longing to uncover its meaning, there's a weight of caution that follows them. The villagers have long warned of the dangers that lie beneath the river's surface. The elder, a figure wise beyond their years, tries to shield the protagonist from the river's mysteries. The elder believes that some knowledge is too dangerous to uncover. The river, in their view, is sacred, a force that must be respected, not questioned. They tell the protagonist that the river is a gift, and tampering with it could bring ruin. But to the protagonist, the river's song isn't something to fear, it's something to understand. Then there's the mysterious figure, someone who has lived in the village for many years, known by few but whispered about by many. This figure's connection to the river goes deeper than anyone realizes, as they carry a secret passed down through generations. Their knowledge of the river's magic is unparalleled, but they guard it with a secretive nature, reluctant to reveal the truth. Only when the protagonist persists, seeking to understand what others fear, does this figure begin to open up. This is where the heart of the conflict begins to take shape. The village is divided on the river's true nature. For some, it is a sacred blessing, a constant source of life and fortune. For others, it is a dangerous entity, cursed by events long forgotten. Over time, the river's song has become more than just a melody, it has evolved into a call for help, its tone growing more desperate with each passing day. When a sacred relic, believed to be the key to controlling the river's flow, is stolen, the melody shifts. The village is thrown into disarray. The stolen artifact was said to hold the power to either heal the river or plunge the entire region into chaos. The protagonist, now caught between the village's divided opinions, is faced with the monumental task of solving the mystery behind the river's song and recovering the lost artifact. As they delve deeper into the river's past, the protagonist learns of an ancient betrayal that led to the river's current turmoil. The theft of the artifact has set in motion a chain of events that cannot be undone. The river's song is no longer just a peaceful tune, it is a desperate cry for help. The protagonist is left with a heart-wrenching question: should they continue to uncover the river's secrets, or is some knowledge better left forgotten? The stakes have never been higher. The village's survival, and possibly the future of the kingdom itself, now rests in the hands of one person, driven by curiosity, and the desire to right a wrong that's centuries old. With each step closer to the truth, the danger grows, and the protagonist must decide if uncovering the past is worth the cost of an uncertain future. The village, nestled on the edge of a great river, is a place where time seems to stand still. The land has been blessed with fertile soil, abundant wildlife, and a river that sustains the community in ways that go beyond simple survival. The river, known to the villagers as Mufumba, has always been a source of both life and mystery. Its waters are said to have special properties that can heal the sick, bring prosperity, and provide sustenance in times of famine. For generations, the villagers have revered the river, offering prayers and sacrifices to honor its spirit. But over time, The river's calm and peaceful nature gave way to something more foreboding, its song. Long ago, the river was a symbol of harmony, its waters flowing freely without obstruction. It was believed that the river had been a gift from the gods, sent to the people as a blessing. The elders told stories of how, when the first settlers arrived, the river greeted them with calm waters and gentle melodies, guiding them to the land that would become their home. These early settlers believed that the river was alive and that its song was a form of communication, a sacred language known only to the gods. The first settlers built their village near the river's mouth, where the waters met the great forest. They made offerings of fish, fruit, and handcrafted items, believing these gifts would ensure the river's protection. In return, the river granted them prosperity, crops flourished, animals thrived, and the people lived in peace. The harmony between the river and the village became a central part of their identity. Over time, the villagers came to view the river as a guardian spirit, one that held the key to their survival and well-being. But as with all things, peace is fragile. Many years ago, something changed. A betrayal occurred, one that shattered the relationship between the village and the river. It began with the theft of a sacred artifact, a relic believed to hold the power to control the river's flow. The artifact was a small, intricately carved stone with mysterious symbols etched into its surface. Legends spoke of its creation by the first settlers, who had fashioned it in the image of the river's spirit. The stone was kept in the village temple, guarded by the eldest priestess, and it was said that as long as the artifact remained in its rightful place, the river would continue to flow peacefully. But one fateful night, the artifact disappeared. No one knew who took it or why, but the disappearance marked the beginning of the river's strange behavior. The villagers began to notice subtle changes in the river's song. What had once been a soothing melody now sounded discordant, as if the river itself was in pain. The waters grew turbulent, and the fish began to die. The crops failed, and the village's once prosperous land became barren. Desperate to understand what had happened, the village's leaders sought out the advice of the elders, who spoke of an ancient prophecy. According to the prophecy, the river would only continue to flow peacefully if the artifact was returned to its sacred resting place. But the prophecy also warned that the artifact's power could only be restored through a great sacrifice, a sacrifice that would demand the highest price. For years, the river's strange behavior persisted. Some villagers believed the river had been cursed, while others thought it was simply a sign that the gods had abandoned them. The once thriving community began to falter, with some people leaving the village in search of better land, while others remained behind, desperately hoping that the river would once again offer its blessing. As the years passed, the river's song grew louder and more urgent, its haunting melody carrying across the village each night. The elders began to speak less of the artifact and more of the ancient rituals that had once been practiced to honor the river. These rituals, long forgotten by the newer generations, were said to hold the key to restoring balance between the village and the river. But as time wore on, fewer and fewer people believed in the old ways, and the river's cries were dismissed as the ramblings of the past. It wasn't until the protagonist arrived in the village that things began to change. Drawn to the river's song from an early age, they could not resist the pull of the river's mystery. They had heard the tales of the river's once prosperous past and had seen the devastation that followed the loss of the artifact. But they could not accept the idea that the river's power had been lost forever. In the protagonist's heart, there was a deep belief that the truth lay hidden beneath the river's surface, waiting to be uncovered. Guided by the whispers of the river's song, the protagonist set out on a journey to unravel the secrets of the past. They sought out the elder who had warned the village against disturbing the river, hoping to learn more about the ancient prophecy and the ritual that could restore the artifact's power. The elder, however, was reluctant to share any more knowledge, fearful that the protagonist's quest would only lead to further ruin. But the protagonist's persistence paid off. One night, in the quiet of the village's temple, the elder finally revealed the truth. The river was not just a force of nature, it was a living entity, capable of feeling pain, sorrow, and anger. The river's song was not a blessing, but a cry for help. The artifact that had been stolen was not just a symbol of control, it was the key to the river's survival. Without it, the river would wither and die, taking the village with it. The elder's words were like a bolt of lightning, striking the protagonist's heart with the weight of their meaning. The river's song was not just a melody, it was a desperate plea for mercy. And the only way to stop the river's suffering was to return the artifact, no matter the cost. But the journey to recover the artifact would not be easy. The artifact was hidden deep within the sacred grounds of the river, a place where only a select few were allowed to enter. The protagonist would have to face not only the dangers of the river's powerful currents but also the resistance of those who still feared the old ways and believed that the artifact was better left forgotten. As the protagonist sets off on their journey, they are not only fighting to save the river but also to restore the balance that has been lost for generations. Along the way, they will uncover long-buried secrets, confront the ancient forces that have shaped the village's history, and learn the true cost of seeking knowledge that was never meant to be uncovered. In the end, the mystery of the river will lead to a revelation that will change everything for the protagonist, for the village, and for the river itself. And as the river's song reaches its crescendo, the final question will remain: can the river be saved, or has it already swallowed too much to ever be whole again? As the protagonist ventures deeper into the mystery, they face numerous obstacles, wild animals, harsh terrain, and the fierce resistance of the village elders who insist that the river's sanctity must not be tampered with. Moral dilemmas arise. Should they uncover the truth, even if it risks the destruction of the river? But the stakes are much higher than anyone realizes. The protagonist discovers a betrayal within their own group, forcing them to rethink who they can trust. Along the way, they form unlikely alliances and uncover shocking truths about the river's ancient power. What started as a search for answers becomes a quest for survival as the protagonist learns that the river's song is not merely a melody, it's a desperate cry for help from something far older, wiser, and more powerful than they could have ever imagined. The tension escalates, and as the protagonist draws closer to the river's heart, they realize the true cost of seeking its secrets. In the final, dramatic moments of their journey, the protagonist uncovers the river's most guarded secret. It is not just a river, it is a living, breathing entity capable of experiencing pain and sorrow. The artifact that was stolen is the key to either healing or destroying the river, and it has the power to restore balance or push the river into irreversible chaos. Faced with this revelation, the protagonist is forced to make a life-changing decision. Should they return the artifact and risk unleashing the river's wrath, or leave it in place, haunted by the song for the rest of their life? The climax of the story is filled with heart-stopping tension, as the protagonist grapples with their deepest fears, facing the devastating consequences of their choices. This moment is the turning point, where the true cost of knowledge is laid bare. In the aftermath, the river falls silent. The protagonist returns to the village, but nothing is the same. The river, once a symbol of life, is now eerily still, its song gone, but the lessons it imparted are far from forgotten. The village, having learned to respect the river's power, begins a new chapter, one marked by caution, understanding, and a deeper respect for the forces of nature. The protagonist, too, has grown wiser, no longer driven by an insatiable thirst for answers, but by a new understanding of life's delicate balance. The story ends with a powerful lesson: some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. Sometimes, true peace is found not in the answers, but in the silence that follows. As we reflect on this powerful story, we ask, what does the river's song really mean? How does it speak to our own lives and the choices we make? The river may have stopped singing, but its lessons will continue to resonate long after the story ends. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the river's song represented? What would you have done in the protagonist's place? And don't forget to subscribe for more captivating African tales that will challenge your perceptions and ignite your imagination. Share this story with others and spread the wisdom it holds, for there is always more to discover in the stories of our past. Stay tuned for more.